The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Y'all ready for this?
Back. And first of all, I'll get into the new intro music, but it is 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, and that means, of course, another wonderful installment of Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. My name is Bill Miller, co-host along with
Jeff Belknap.
And we have a really full-packed show, and we're going to get to a number of topics because it's a busy day, busy season. We've got drafts this week in NHL, NBA, but first, a song real quick. A little bit different from Pantera is a gentleman who has another show on our network. His name is Alan Childs, and he was actually the drummer for Rock of Ages, a huge popular Vegas show here.
Yep.
And he's been writing his own music, and his show, by the way, is called Psychedelic Circus. And what day is that on, John?
Thursdays.
Thursdays. You can find his show.
Thursdays at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.? Okay,
yes,
excellent.
because it's big on the East Coast.
Yeah,
so
nice.
we try to get it early enough in the day before they're all wasted.
Yeah, well, Jeff had a chance to meet him.
I did.
And we love to try and support our fellow shows
Absolutely.
here at WWDB-TV. So anyway, please check in that show, especially if you're a metalhead or a rockhead like we are.
Yes, sir.
You know, it should be an interesting show, a lot of great music, but he's writing his own music, so we're supporting him any way we can.
Absolutely.
As I mentioned to you before, we're going to have a busy show. Kind of headlined by an old friend of ours, Jay Matos,
Yep.
Who's part of the Baseball USA Academy. I'm sorry, it's the CBA Baseball
Right.
USA Academy. He's going to talk about the academy. This academy is sending a lot of players to the next level in baseball. It's not just about talent, but about molding these young men to be good citizens of the United States.
Absolutely.
Because that's where they're going to spend the most of their time is being a citizen as opposed to being on the baseball field.
Right.
But first, let's just kind of get into it and just to kind of let's go back to last week, what took place after the show. Once again, the Pittsburgh Penguins do what they do best, closed out a series.
Yep.
And once again, back-to-back NHL champions. I think this is their fifth.
Right.
Stanley Cup, led by, of course, no longer the kid, but Sid Crosby, who is arguably the best player in the NHL.
Oh, no doubt.
Captain of that team, and they just get it done. But hats off to the Nashville Predators for a very successful season. Nobody expected them to be in the NHL Finals.
Right.
And obviously a lot of really hurt feelings in Montreal, especially since they bowed out in the first round. And, of course, having lost P.K. Subban. And you can arguably say that he had a huge impact on his team, will do so going forward.
Right.
Yeah. And, of course, the NBA series is finally over. And that is the Golden State Warriors clinched that one.
Right.
And, in 5 games. And, 5 games.
Yep.
And, more on that later. But let's go back to the NHL because huge event, obviously, here going forward. This week is the first draft for the local Las Vegas Golden Knights.
Yep.
And there are, of course, there is a number of players, and this is how it works with expansion teams. Players are either protected or not protected, and each team has to basically do that with their players. And then some surprises came forward, including the goaltender off the Stanley Cup champs,
Yep.
Pittsburgh Penguins, Marc-Andre Fleury. And Mark obviously has been an absolutely sensational goaltender.
3 cups.
3 rings. He
Yep.
can certainly be the kind of guy you want in that locker room.
Absolutely.
And, and to have that steady individual in net. I'm really hoping that the Knights pull the trigger on him.
Oh, they have to. I mean, that's a must. I mean, anytime you're putting together, especially a new team, any team really. I mean, you got to have a good foundation of defense.
Yeah.
that obviously starts with the goalie, couple good, puck moving defensemen.
Right.
So I think that it's a must. I mean, it's a no-brainer.
The Knights seem to be making all the right moves at the staff level.
Oh, absolutely.
In the corporate.
Except for they haven't hired us.
They still didn't hire us. I'm still holding out. I know we got time, guys. We're here.
We're available.
Yeah, we're available.
I'll just if I could just come and show up every once in a while with an event.
And listen, in terms of we can talk about salary and all that good stuff.
Just give me some tickets.
Our needs are minimal. Tickets, place to park. That sort.
Yeah, that $10 parking would be nice.
Yeah.
Or what is it, up to 20, I think now.
But this is a huge week. Wednesday, is the Knights, I think, are putting out their wish list.
Yes.
That they were, sort of putting out there, and then I think the draft is it Thursday or Friday? The NHL draft.
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we see some they
it's actually I'm sorry, Wednesday night.
Wednesday night.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So then by then we will actually have the.
Yeah, I was actually thinking. The Armory opened today, which is basically the name of the gift shop.
Yeah.
So there was a bunch of people over there today. Tomorrow, the unveiling of the uniforms.
Right.
Which I kind of can't wait to see.
Yeah, I've got a hat thanks to my son Jason.
Nice.
Thank you, Jay.
All right.
Yeah. So next Monday I'm absolutely going to rock it. I keep forgetting to bring it, and but it is black. It is sharp, but it's also hot as hell. So
especially when it's 115.
Yeah, and folks, if you haven't been following the weather in Vegas, it's toasty.
It's blistering.
It's unique. Spring's over.
Yep.
We get that. We absolutely get that. But looking at some of the players that that I think that you mentioned defensemen. There's a number of guys you see on here, and I was really surprised by some of those players that weren't protected. And I think that there's some gamesmanship that are going on with a number of these clubs. I think that they probably threw out a lot of guys that there may be some salary issues, and contract
absolutely.
issues. I mean, let's face it, this is when you really put them out there.
Well, that and the fact that they increased the salary cap to $75 million.
Yeah.
So I think they're giving the Golden Knights a fighting chance because they realize that they're going to have to sign some of these guys, to big contracts. Obviously some veterans.
Yeah.
In there. I mean, which tells me that like a lot of these teams might be going for some younger guys.
Yeah.
To kind of build their foundations around. And to be honest, I mean, there's a lot of teams that did need some changes. So this is a good way to kind of shift things up and without, upsetting too many people.
Well, hockey is not exactly an elder statesman sport, unless you're a netminder.
Well, I mean, unless you're Jaromir Jagr. What was he, about 60?
I think he might be as old as I am. But
he's got to be in his late 40s or mid 40s.
Clearly. Yeah. And let's give it up to the guy. He's my hero, frankly.
He's a beast.
Jagr, please just rolling up for us old dudes.
Yeah.
My kids, who are now in their late 30s and early mid 30s, my two sons, they remember, when they were kids that this guy was just coming into the league.
Yep.
And both played hockey, and and they're like, you can't believe this guy is still like.
Well, as kids, we played a lot of roller hockey.
Yeah. And
we would literally pass the puck or the ball, actually, what it was, back and forth to each other, and we would be like, Jagr to Lemieux.
To Lemieux.
Yeah, I mean that was like you're like talking to each other, and you're before you put in the goal.
Yeah, I think people actually have to go back and Google when Lemieux actually retired.
Right.
And who became an executive.
Well, I mean that's got to be
won a
15
cup as an
plus.
executive. Yes.
Yeah.
So he's been retired for at least 15 years, and Jagr's still out there. Just
Yeah, that's great. It's good to see.
Good to see y'all. One of the notes on the goalies that might pop up on the Golden Knights is. Malcolm Subban.
Yep.
And if the name sounds familiar, that is PK Subban of the Nashville Predators and of the Montreal Canadiens.
Yep.
That's his younger brother,
yep.
who was actually in the Boston Bruin camp. So there may very well be another Subban coming up soon and popping up, and that would kind of give you that mix of the old and the young. But he's apparently, from what I gather, he's pretty talented. It seems to run in the Subban family. And again, the folks up in Montreal still reeling from not only losing him, but a first-round exit, and then watch this guy go to the finals. But I digress. I'm sorry.
It's okay. You know what? I'm sitting here looking at the guys that are available, and there's some really top-end guys. When you dealing with someone like McPhee, he knew these players. And I actually saw an interview with him yesterday, and he actually said, "Oh yeah, this is the list we thought we were going to get.
Right.
We were going to get," which we talked about it on the show before. That I'm sure that this guy had this whole planned out and said these are probably the guys. There might be a couple of guys in there that he was surprised by. For the most part,
Yeah.
I mean, these guys know each other. The GMs know each other. I saw today that he's only waiting until tomorrow to talk about any type of trades.
Mm-hmm.
So that he realizes that some of these teams might want to keep these other people now that everybody knows who's available. Some of those other teams might want those guys and maybe trade for a draft pick or a future draft pick. So it could get really interesting.
Yeah. Well, I think that for most people here in Las Vegas, obviously the announcement a year ago about the franchise, the arena's already built. So there's it's not like the NFL waiting for that football stadium to be built.
Or break ground, for that matter.
Breaking ground, etc. The T-Mobile Arena is up and running. It's a beautiful facility.
Oh, yes.
And they're putting the final touches on the practice facility in Summerlin, where the Knights will be training and practicing, and their corporate offices will be.
And the UNLV Skating Rebels facility.
Yes, and the UNLV, the Skating Rebels.
Yep.
One of the best kept secrets here in town, coming off another very successful season. That'll be their practice and training facility.
Yep, and I think they're maybe playing their games there as well.
Yeah, it would be fantastic because there's 2 rinks,
right?
And I think one seats 5,000,
right?
If I'm not mistaken. So it's right in their wheel well, and it's you can get to Summerlin from anywhere in town.
I mean, it's literally
to be in a really great part of town.
Yeah, it's right behind the Red Rock Casino.
Yep.
So it's right off the 215. I mean, you basically get off the 215, take the first right when you get off, and you're at the facility. I mean, right behind downtown Summerlin. Plenty of places to eat, like around that area. It's prime, and right where Faith Lutheran is about to build out some stuff.
And
where they're talking about putting a 51 stadium. I mean, there's just a lot of stuff happening.
There's a lot going on over there.
Yep.
We had in last week the 2 coaches of Faith Lutheran's lacrosse team, who are the state champions this year. And Faith Lutheran is really expanding that, not only just the program, that the faith that they, no pun intended, that they put in these 2 gentlemen. Took them literally about 3 or 4 years to kind of get where they've gotten, and it's been a meteoric rise.
Yep.
But they've mentioned about the expansion of the school and the fields, and they have sort of a dedicated lacrosse field.
Yep. So tomorrow they're doing the uniform reveal. That's going to be huge. It goes right from that to the award show on Wednesday, and then an expansion draft on Wednesday, which I'm actually going to go to the draft. I put in for my media credentials. They obviously don't know who I am, because they told me no, but that's okay. You get told no a lot, but you just have to keep plugging away. And
we would not have a show if we relied on every no that came through.
Right.
There.
We would. We would just make it. I don't even know what we would do.
I don't know what we'd. It'd be entertaining each other.
We could wear bags, maybe.
Yes,
I don't know.
Something like that. But the logo, I liked it as soon as they unveiled
I love it.
And I'm just waiting to see what the uniforms look like. And they've been teasing everything, but things have been kind of building to sort of that, keep the suspense building.
Well, we do know that Adidas is the company.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
They showed a sleeve. That's all they literally shot was a little sleeve angle, and Adidas definitely is the uniform company this year.
Okay.
So.
All right. In terms of the NHL draft as a whole, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's not exactly popular. Certainly not everyone's cup of tea.
Right.
I think that the NFL draft sort of leads everything, than the NBA, and I think really it's kind of between those purest of fans, the NHL and Major League Baseball.
Right.
Major League Baseball has an enormous draft. I mean, it just seems to go on and on and on and on forever.
Well, we're definitely going to be talking about that draft. In this show. Absolutely.
And of course, we're also going to be talking about the upcoming NBA draft, and now the gamesmanship starts between now and Friday. No, actually, I think it's Thursday is the NBA draft.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, all of it comes together really quick. I mean, for them to schedule all this in the same week, and then of course the NBA had to hold off on the awards for the regular season awards. So I know they're taking
suspense builds.
some heat from the media. For
They
that,
should, rightfully so, in the longest season in sports. But what we're going to do is we're going to take our first break, and then when we come back, we're going to switch gears a little bit, and then we're going to talk about the NBA, the Warriors winning, and then maybe go also into the NBA draft.
Yep.
And then we're going to have a special guest with us later on, actually an old friend of Jay and I's, Jay Matos, is going to be in the house.
Yes.
All right, so we'll be back in just a few. You're watching Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. We'll be right back. We are back. Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com, and this is round 2. My name is Bill Miller, along with
Jeff Belknap.
And as we mentioned to you, we are in studio guest Jay Matos is here, and Jay is also a basketball fan, so we thought we'd absolutely get him in the mix.
Absolutely.
On this. And if you're just joining us now, first segment had a chance to talk about the Penguins winning their 5th Stanley Cup, as well as the upcoming draft. Number 1 for long-awaited for the Las Vegas Golden
Huge
Knights.
in history for Las Vegas, first franchise.
Absolutely. So we're going to switch gears here. As everybody knows by now, the NBA season finally ended last week with the Warriors winning their 2nd crown in 3 years.
Yep.
5 games against the Cavs. And, of course, this is all leading up to this week, to the NBA draft. And the suspense, now things really start to ramp up. Because early on, it was always about Celtics 1, Lakers 2, and 76ers 3. And they were just like, well, this. And, of course, it appears that, obviously, Ball's dad is not the least bit interested in his son going to Boston.
Or Philly.
Or Philly, as it seems. So the drama was, would Boston sort of press the matter and say, we're still going to draft this guy, which to me is insane. Why would you want to draft anybody who really doesn't want to play? And then, of course, what popped up? A switch that took place within the last 72 hours, or 48 hours. And that is the Sixers and the Celtics have swapped picks. So now the Sixers have the first pick, Lakers still second, and Boston third. Now, each team has their own separate needs. But this is an incredibly unique position for the 76ers, who had the number 1 pick last year. Ben Simmons, who has not played a minute, unfortunately.
Not even.
They obviously, Embiid had an incredible season for the 30-odd games that he played. So this is the young man that is clearly in the mix. So now it looks like that it's the young man out of Washington that the 76ers have their eye on.
Yep.
I mean, honestly, and of course we'll go into the fact that now all of a sudden, the situation between the Cavs and the Indiana Pacers and Lakers has suddenly come up to
right.
as
Yeah,
well.
Potential. Yeah.
So Jay, man, give us your impression on the draft.
I mean, I think the Celtics they didn't need a guard, so they obviously made the switch because they're pretty much set in their guards.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, Lonzo Ball, where does he go? He might even fall 5 or 6, on this draft if he doesn't get picked first or second. I think he might even fall. I think there's a surprise there.
Yeah, I think that suddenly you have the idea of George. He's already made it clear he's not going to sign with them a year from now with the Pacers. And I don't think the Pacers want to be in that position that they were with that Oklahoma's with Kevin Durant. As basically they have nothing to show for it. I think the Lakers are a great fit. George apparently loves L.A., and obviously with your boy Kobe gone.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no longer the 300-pound gorilla that's still
right.
sitting around there. And with, I think the addition of Magic Johnson in management, I think that's going to open up, a lot of high-level free agents. But I really do see the Lakers not passing up on a chance to get Ball, because if you go back, and I'm 60 years old, I'm a huge old Laker fan.
Right.
I remember Gail Goodrich, local high school kid in the Valley, went to UCLA and ended up being the guard with the LA Lakers, had a hugely successful career. Then there was another young man from UCLA. Oh, God, I can picture him. Big ears. He went to actually the same high school as Gail Goodrich, UCLA, and drafted by the Lakers. And again, had a relatively success, still a journeyman in the league. I see this as an opportunity that this young man is good. Make no mistake about it, but it just seems to follow the whole pattern. Local boy. Everybody's happy. Ball's happy. His dad's happy. Now his dad can drive his other two sons crazy.
Right.
And, Lorenzo can just go on with his life.
Yeah.
I really do see the Lakers as pulling that trigger.
Well, I got a couple things.
Yeah.
About this. This is my thing. One, I think it's a big move by Danny Ainge to trade it. The first time in 24 years that somebody's traded a number one pick. I do think that they need some forward help, so I understand why they did what they did. My issue about it is that Isaiah's contract's actually up after next year. So there's no guarantees that he's going to stay.
Right.
So, what happens if, he plays one more season and then decides to bounce to another team? And then you're without anybody, or maybe you gotta refill that spot again. So that's the downside. More than likely they're going to pick up Josh Jackson from Kansas as a point guard with their pick, which is a great pick. I think that they're going to do great with that.
The
Celtics with their third pick. Yeah, that's who I believe that they'll take, but I could be wrong. The other thing is, we were talking about Paul George. The reason why I don't think that the Lakers will take him initially, or especially right now, he's only got 1 year left in his contract. So to me, it's almost advantageous for him to actually go somewhere, maybe win a championship, and then go and play for the Lakers. Maybe bounce off at that time, because if he does, go, say he signs with the Lakers, what are they really getting? They're buying a 1 year contract, because that's what he has left. So do you go to the Lakers, the team that may, more than likely going to be a 500 team next year?
Not if he's on that team. I guarantee you that. Not if he's on that team.
All right, they'll win 43. Is that what you're saying?
Well,
Laker hater number one.
One thing about the Celtics is they really don't lose that many players. I
Right.
mean, they're a pretty powerhouse, franchise.
Right.
So
That's a young team.
Yeah, they might, anything can happen nowadays, but I think they'll hang on to Thomas. That's just
Well, you have to think, but you just never know.
that's just a powerhouse franchise, and they,
He's kind of
just
become the face of that franchise at the same time.
And he might not be, as good in other offenses as well. That offense really surrounds him.
Right.
But Josh Jackson and Danny Ainge, these guys know what they're doing. So there might even be a trade on picking Josh Jackson and trading him down the line for somebody else or something.
Yeah, could be.
But you never know with what's happening.
So, are you a Lakers fan?
I am not. I'm actually a Knicks fan.
A Knicks fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sad to say,
So
but yeah.
what's
Then you
happening
really
with?
are a fan.
Yeah,
I know
Yeah,
that.
you're obviously a fan if you're a Knicks fan, but
Although I lived in Boston for 10 years.
What?
Yeah.
How did you get away with that?
I moved to Boston where I met my wife there, and I lived there for 10 years and just fell in love with the Red Sox. Not the Celtics, but, once you had season tickets for at Fenway Park, you just have to fall in love with them.
Yeah.
Patriots, but I'm originally from New York, so stayed with the Knicks.
I know you're a huge Patriots fan.
Yeah, big Patriots fan.
Big Patriots fan.
If you look at my truck, there's a big...
Yeah.
And I'm not on the bandwagon. I actually was a
I
Patriots
remember.
fan
You were-
with Drew
okay.
Bledsoe. Used to be out there at Foxborough just freezing out there and well, it's really cold out here. But, yeah.
So Corey Dillon was your guy back in the day.
Yeah. Him,
Nice.
Drew Bledsoe, those guys.
That's
But
good.
that draft is going to be very, very interesting. I don't know. There's so many ways you could go 1, 2, 3, and I think that's just going to trickle down all the way down to the rest of the draft.
Well, I personally think that Lonzo Ball will go to the Lakers. I think that they've given him just a lot of workout opportunities. More than just like an average team that's just looking at somebody. I think he's a good guard, good distributor of the ball. He plays with his head up a lot, which is good, especially for a young guy. Scoring wise, I don't know that he's going to be able to score the same way that he does in college in the NBA. But
I don't think that that's what they're looking for him to do. I think that they're counting on the guys that they've got now to want to be able to shoot the ball. But I think they have him to come in the ability to get them the ball, and he's certainly happy with getting the ball to people, as opposed that no, I need to be able to put up 24 or 30 points a game.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's huge. Plus, he's got this huge wingspan.
Yes.
He does. And he's a good defender. And I really do think that he's a great fit for the Lakers going forward. And I think honestly that the Lakers have enough guys that they could sweeten the pot on a trade.
Yeah.
For a Paul George. Mm-hmm. And I think that
young guys too.
Young guys.
Young guys. Yeah.
It's not some guys who are just like long in the tooth.
Yeah. Right.
But they've got enough guys that they can actually go looking forward, moving forward, be able to put on the table. And I think George honestly is looking for a long-term contract with the Lakers. And Lakers have the payroll on the team that they could do that. They could offer him up that kind of cheddar.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be a problem. I think if you leave for a year, you go somewhere, and then God only you get hurt. Okay, well then that experiment's over.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think that he knows he'll have an immediate impact on the Lakers. Are they going to take the West? Not a chance. Given the strength of the West, but will they make the playoffs and actually have a role to play? Absolutely. I think George has that ability to change that whole dynamic.
Well, I think that it's a matter of time. I don't think these guys are going to hang out in Golden State for years and years. I mean, if they do, then they're going to win multiple times in a row. I mean, but I just don't think that that's going to happen.
They don't have the money to do it. You can't, pay everyone the kind of money that they're all saying around. I got 2 rings, 3 years. What time to pay me?
Did you see Curry's contract today?
No.
5 years, $205 million extension.
Yeah,
really?
and
$40 million a year.
Durant has already said that he wants to, to opt out of his option and re-sign with Golden State.
Okay.
So what do you think they're going to pay him? So if you're Green, Thomas, and these guys who are key components of that team, I got my 2 rings. There apparently is not going to be enough money here for me.
Right.
I see what they're willing to pay these guys. I'm gone.
Time to think about retirement.
Go to the Clippers.
At their age,
I mean, to the
Clippers wouldn't be a bad spot for Green or Thomas. Or hey, it could even be the Lakers.
Yep.
The bottom line is that they say, look, I was a key component of this. I see what money they're putting out there. Why am I only worth X amount of dollars? Now, this could be their agent, their dads, anybody saying this, but there is not enough money that they can possibly keep it. And if they've already put $40 million on the table to Curry, what are you going to put to Durant? Say 25? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I got my ring. So long. Yeah.
Speaking of Durant, what did you feel about his mom coming out there and celebrating with him?
I've always admired this lady, especially when he received the first MVP award. I was crying like a baby.
Yeah.
When he dedicated to his mom and what his mom
Oh, I think that's awesome.
Oh, my God. I have a lot of respect for his mom, and she's a mom.
Yeah.
I mean, if I won something, I'd like to think my mom would be
That's
out
correct.
there. And, baby, I'm so
Well, I know that he took a lot of heat, but I was like, what's the problem?
Exactly. Are you serious?
Yeah, you see people out there with their kids all the time, and doing
I was
all
thinking,
that.
Was it a slow news cycle on ESPN, or
well, it's ESPN.
They felt that this had to be a discussion point, and then there's your answer. It was all right. We got to talk about something. Well, what's his mother doing now?
Yeah, we got to think of some. I'm going to think of an acronym for ESPN because I think they've went downhill so bad.
Oh, right.
And it's when you watch the story. I mean, I have to watch it in small dosage. Like I'll watch basically the highlights when they start talking about stuff. I just turn the channel because I can't really even get into the commentary anymore. Mike and Mike I still listen to. I like those guys, but
with the huge round of layoffs,
right,
and the fact that they've got a lot of channels, 24/7.
Yeah.
content that they need to fill. You're going to get a lot of, good shows. You're going to get an awful lot of bad ones and everything in between. But the bottom line is that you're watching news that pretty much isn't changing that often. So the next show coming up is going to be talking about something that's
Pretty much the same thing, yeah.
Yeah. So I can kind of see where it's going to, but maybe they've just gotten too big. But
Maybe that's why our show keeps going up in viewers. Because we talk about different stuff.
We talk about different things. We keep it fresh.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it's once a week.
That's
What do you
That's
think
right.
Cleveland's going to do?
I think they have to get a vet. They have to pick up somebody. I mean, me personally, I was surprised that Love came back. I wouldn't be surprised if he
He
left.
leaves and Carmelo comes.
Listen, I saw early on they were tossing around the idea of Love for Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
They're
know-
still, I read, I think, an article yesterday that Carmelo's still in play.
Well,
Going there.
the big winner out of that is the New York Knicks.
Yeah. A lot of cash they're going to get rid of.
I'm a huge UCLA guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously I watched him play, and I was disappointed that he left. But he was he was a man playing with boys.
Do you think Carmelo fits in that offense, though?
No,
I don't think so.
and he
either.
certainly is not going to play defense.
No.
So again, the big winner, New York Knicks.
Yeah.
If you can get hold of Kevin Love, you guys are it's on the rise.
But so Porzingis, is he coming back? I mean, I know that the exit interview went
I
pretty
think they have to-
bad.
They have to make sure he comes back.
I'll never forget.
He's going to be special.
Oh, absolutely.
I'll
He
never
is.
forget the draft when he got named.
Oh, I was watching that.
I was watching it and I was like, I've heard this guy's name before. I didn't realize how good he really was.
Mm-hmm.
But do you realize the number one selling jersey in the NBA? After being booed by
Yeah.
Knicks fans to the number one selling jersey in the NBA, unbelievable.
Hey, if you can make it anywhere,
Well, the guy
in New York,
that,
you can make it
drafted
anywhere, right?
him and was scouting him, he was pretty much sure this is our guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you got to
Can't-
go against Mr. Popularity.
Oh, yeah, and he
Yeah.
certainly did that.
And go.
I like the
what's
pick.
gonna do
He's
it.
good. He's a good baller.
All right, so listen, we're going to take our second break. When we come back, we're going to talk about one of the reasons why Jay Matos is in the studio.
That's right.
Yeah, this is Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. We'll be right back. All right, we are back for round three. Southern Nevada Sports News coming to you from WWDBTV.com. My name is Bill Miller, along with
Jeff Belknap.
and also in studio.
Jay Matos.
That's right, and the reason we had Jay in the studio is because of his affiliation with the California Baseball Academy, USA.
That's correct.
And you were actually operating the Nevada side of things.
That's correct.
But this is an absolutely incredible program. Jay was kind enough to send us some background on it, and just to kind of give you an idea of what we're talking about here. First of all, it is dedicated to not only the baseball development of their players, but also the personal development and growth of all the young men in the CBA program. So this is not just athletic driven. It's also, what they're going to be concentrating on. Majority of their life is not going to be on
That's correct.
it's going to be as heavy human beings living in society and being contributing members of society. But you also mentioned the CBA provides the best venue to further players' baseball interest and ultimately reach their goals of playing college and professional baseball. Just real quick, 30 players drafted in MLB, 12 this year alone. Over 270 players have been college committed, 80 for the class of 2017 this year alone. 21 players currently playing in the 2017 College World Series.
And one pitching as we speak right now. He's pitching for Oregon State.
4 with Oregon State alone,
Yeah.
which is the number one seeded team this year. 24 teams, 300 players, 600 parents in Las Vegas, Nevada area. And the CBA hosts in Las Vegas the biggest college camp in the West Coast in conjunction with the LVCVA, Cashman Field, with 40 of the top D1, D2, D3, and JC baseball schools every year in the month of November. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Really
Thanks
appreciate
a lot,
it.
Jeff. Thanks a lot.
I mean, that's just like the interview over right there after all that.
But I wanted to get, because there's obviously some questions we have for you, and so I wanted to kind of get that out there so people know that this is serious business. You came right off the field.
Yes.
And God bless you. It's 110
It's hot.
out there right now. And yeah, it is 110. He came off the field to join us here in the studio. So God bless you for that. So let's go. What is the difference between your organization and others? Because it's a pretty crowded field. These traveling teams and elite programs that are scattered around the country.
The relationship with the players and the families. That's pretty much. It's not all about baseball. Bigger than baseball is academics. If the kids don't have the academics, we can't help them. We're preparatory for college, so we really start to compete at 14, 15, 16, 17. Everything under 14 is really development.
Right.
It's still competitive out there because it's travel ball, but you have to really stick to your values and your development. Try to coach them on the things that you could control and they could control. The errors, the other things out there, you just got to let it play itself out.
Yeah.
The opportunities that we actually give the players and the families, we get bids for invitational tournaments as well as USA Baseball and other things. And what a bid is basically, there's an elite tournament out there so that scouts and recruiters could actually come and watch those players. They don't have a lot of time to waste, so when they do come, they want to make sure that they see the best players, and usually in most cases the bigger programs attract the best players.
Right.
And so the tournament directors will actually put those big organizations to play each other, so that you could actually start recruiting or scouting the players as well. And so we're pretty much very heavy in academics, even from 7 all the way up to 13. We're checking report cards.
Yeah, that'll work.
Nice.
Excellent.
Those are trying to get them to develop good habits at a young age and then push them through. John Pano, who's the director of CBA out of Temecula, California. You have Joe Spears, whose dad, Mike Spears, was one of the founders of travel ball in this country, and decades ago. And then you have Josh Glassy out of San Diego. These guys are really, really good coaches. They understand, the kids, and they know how to actually put the teams together and the values that we're actually teaching. For example, we're more, look, I get my parents together. I said, we win, we don't. We're going to focus on the things that we could control.
Right.
And then once we develop the kids that way, winning will be a byproduct of what we do. So, I'll give you an example. USA Baseball, huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's 2 paths to USA Baseball. There's the NTIS, which stands for the National Tryout Identification Series.
Right.
And so those are, USA goes all around the country looking for those 1 or 2, diamond in the rough players that might be able to make it. So you go and you try out, and if you make it, you have another tryout somewhere else, and you just try to get your way in your path to North Carolina or to California through USA Baseball. With CBA, we have a direct bid, so our players don't have to go to those tryouts. We could just use our bids and go out there and play in front of the USA, which, as a matter of fact, I leave tomorrow to carry North Carolina to play with our 10Us and our 11Us. And
So you got a couple boys in this as well.
yes, I do. That's what really got me in there. And one of the biggest things for us is I like traveling. I love traveling, and it's not because of baseball. It's because of the quality family time that you can spend with your wife and your kids.
Right.
I love taking my 16-year-old, putting him in the car, and him and I just driving to California. We ended up talking about, the birds and the bees there, and, other things that, he was getting a car, and, some really good, important quality time that, years from now they're going to remember. And,
That's right.
and, of course, we'll never forget as parents.
Oh, right.
So, the fact that that we have these bids and we could travel to all these great tournaments. It's a pretty wonderful thing, and it's a lifetime experience.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let me ask you, I mean, how is it being dad and coach?
I try not to coach my own kids.
That's a good move.
Except my younger
very good,
ones.
yeah.
Yes. My young ones, I try to coach them. I coach a 10U team because he's 10. My bigger one, I try not, if a coach can't make it or something, I'll step in and I'll coach those teams as well. But for the most part, you don't want dads. And with CBA, another thing, is if 14 and up, there's no dads on the field.
It's an excellent idea.
You have to let the kid figure it out for himself. The player has to figure it out.
I think we've all witnessed dads going absolutely ape.
Oh, yeah.
On the field, on their players, on their kids.
In the dugout.
Taking it to the parking lot.
Believe me,
yeah, I think you should have a neutral party involved.
Yeah. So for my younger one, I want to teach him and his teammates and these younger kids what these high school kids are learning at a young age. And really what we're focusing, not winning, although we want to win and we play to compete, but really focusing on just hustling, character, attitude, fundamentals, and those things. After you could only do that for a while. After maybe a year or so, when he turns 11 or 12, I'll step away and get somebody else to coach him, because it's hard for the kids.
Absolutely.
It's hard for the coach.
Yeah.
You want to say, hey.
Yeah, you're right. Well, I mean, you're talking about 270 players in college and 80 this year alone.
Yeah, that's
so obviously your methods are working.
Yes.
It's not like, hey, we're going to give this a shot. This is actually a proven method.
It is.
And then having to reinvent the wheel every year.
Right.
That's
exactly.
correct. That's correct. It's a proven method, and it works.
So go ahead, Bill.
No, go ahead.
I was just asking, how can people get involved? I mean, if they got a young guy, what's it cost? How do they get on a team?
We're pretty reasonable. We're $100 a month. That's what the families pay. And that includes 2 practices and indoor dugout practice. And we have, we have 2 parts of CBA. We have the competitive side and we have the development side. And so, pretty much almost anybody could make CBA. We're an academy more than we are a club.
Right.
And so, we'll have players that come in and they're just not ready. They come in from where there's Little League or they have to know somewhat some baseball, because you don't want them to get hurt out there as well.
Yeah.
And that ball hurts. We'll keep some of these kids in practice and develop them before they could get into league games or tournaments or other than that. But then you have, AA, AAA, majors, divisions, and so we have teams in every one of those divisions. And so if a parent is interested and they want to get involved, they go to our website, or we have postings and like VegasValleyBaseball.com and others, and so they can get involved that way.
Okay.
Right. So how long have you been with the program, and how'd you get in it?
We started the program about 5 years ago, and I got in it because of my kids. I mean, I remember I was in our first team, and I didn't want to coach them, and so I had other guys coach, and then my younger kid was 7. I started an 8U team, and they became one of the number 1 teams in the country. And so then
I remember that. I was watching that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We won some big tournaments. We were ranked number 1, and the organization took off. It was the Pumas then, and then everybody had, I got another son, but he's actually 9, and I got a son, he's 12. Hey, my son's
that's so great.
And so we were really more a 12 and under organization. And then CBA came in town and said, we really like what you're doing. We like the way you run your organization. This is what we're looking to expand. We want to give kids more opportunities out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so we became the CBA Pumas. And we're going on our 3rd year as the CBA Pumas, 5 years as just the Pumas itself. But the support's been great. I mean, City Council, the county commissioners, they really support the City of Henderson. They really have stood right behind us. Commissioner Lawrence Weekly, he's just a champion, just supporting us because he sees that we're getting kids into college. And so he's always, Jay, what do you need? What can we do? How can we help you out? And he was the instrument that championed the application to get the college camp to Nevada and get it with the LVCVA and catchment field.
Oh, that's great.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Anytime you can get the city behind you, that's and you have some relationships down there, some good relationships.
Yeah, just a little.
Got a few. Yeah. And listen, man, those are not to be discounted in any way, shape, or form.
No.
The idea is to try and a means to an end.
Yeah.
At the same time. One thing we hear about, a lot of some of these travel teams is that you find kids are just locked into that one particular sport. How do you feel about kids playing other sports in addition
I'm
to
all for
baseball?
it. It's I think, times have changed, but the game hasn't changed, but the approach to the game has changed certainly. But I think that you could go seasonal. We're pretty much playing 10 months out of the year, but the way our structure is different than a lot of other structures. We have a database, and our database on Team Snap will let us know. We have so many teams that if you're going to a wedding, or you want to go play flag football, or Johnny wants to go play soccer, they just we're not available, and we'll just get players and we'll move them around. And so there is no pressure to go out there and play in these tournaments all the time.
Yeah.
Or that. So you really could actually work around. We'll work around your schedule.
Okay.
For the most part, so yeah, I'm all for that. I think it's important. I think when you turn maybe 15, 16, you probably most kids. Some kids could just play 4 different sports. They'll just be.
They just have talent.
They just have it.
Yeah.
But for most kids at that age, maybe if it's serious, you're probably zoning in on 1 or 2 sports.
Right.
Absolutely.
We've had a gentleman that's been through your program on the show, Bryce Bullock.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Bryce has been on our show before.
Good family.
Yeah,
Great
I
family.
went and watched them play a couple times. They got some good kids on Spring Valley.
Yes. They
Good
do.
good players in Spring Valley. So he obviously signed with UNLV. He'll be going to UNLV, which is another one that you can rack up. Not for this total, but for next year. But I mean, when you what is the downside? I mean, we're always talking about how great these programs are, but what could be a potentially downside, or an obstacle that you have to help the family get through?
Usually is understanding the commitment that they have to make. There is a commitment. If you're really looking at getting into college, I mean, you want some type of exposure out there. You want to get into some of these camps, and also help budgeting their finances, because it does get expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
really,
that's what $400 or $500, and
oh yeah, hotels.
Yeah.
Hotels are about $150 a night at the low end, depending on where you're going. But we've had some kids where, look, if their families can't afford it, we have some businessmen and women behind us that sponsor, and we try to get these families to go out there
that's
and do
fantastic.
that.
That
So
really
that's
is.
great.
That is
we
great.
put a couple of these guys that have actually gotten D1 would never have a chance to go do.
If someone had just.
I mean, if you
down
think
and
about
helped
that,
them
then
out,
it's just not the kid. Then I mean, you're extending yourself out to even the families.
Oh yeah. You have to, and I think that's part of our success is extending out to the families, having a relationship with the families, because that's what's important to. At the end of the day, they pay the bills, and they have to create a budget. We have to let them know what the budget is. How much is it going to cost? What is the commitment? Time off work. You might have the money and all the resources. You don't have time off work.
Right.
So
That's great.
It's a big undertaking.
Let me ask you: do you have fundraisers by any chance?
We do have fundraisers. As a matter of fact, I believe we're a 501c3, and we do have parents that go out, and we give them a letter, and they go and they raise money for themselves, so they'll have their own accounts. But we also have some parents at EDC. We'll have them at T-Mobile. They're serving sandwiches or whatever it is that they're doing.
So working the snack bars and
and they raise money that goes to them.
That's good.
Oh, that's excellent.
Well, if you ever
Absolutely
do any restaurants, let me and Bill know. We'll definitely
Oh,
go.
there you go.
We're up for, yeah.
I like the ones where all you have to do is go and eat, and you're supporting the team.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm all for
there
that
you
type
go.
of stuff.
Yeah, we're gonna buy meals one way or the
Or-
other.
or
Let's
the
do it
poker
for a
night,
good
huh?
cause.
Poker night, I'm down for that too.
I've been.
If you do a golf tournament, me and Bill will come
there
as
you
well.
go.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I did want to bring up, and because undoubtedly if you have parents involved, kids involved, at some point not everyone is going to be happy.
That's correct.
Is there a way to sort of like, somebody can come in and mediate conflict resolution?
I try to take care of that, and I own my own business, so I usually on Mondays I take off to take care of all the complaints.
Wow, that's like a whole department.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So, I found interesting enough that you just have to be a good listener.
Yeah.
And then when you do get a complaint from a parent, you have to find, is there reason behind it? Is there some reasoning?
Right.
Guy comes up to me and says, hey, my kid should have been at shortstop batting first, all 4 games, and he even sat one inning. I can't say. There's no reason behind that. They don't understand the game of baseball, and so if and we'll be upfront with them and let them know if they don't change, we'll ask them to leave. After the 3rd year, I changed and started interviewing parents instead of players.
Wow. Yeah.
And that's really more important to us.
More telling.
It's going back is dealing with the families.
Yeah.
Because, and everybody has their right to do whatever they want or raise their kids the way they want to. But it's just when you have that many players, you have to really have good families involved. And that really is the core of our program, is we don't need the best players. We need the families that are committed, that understand our values on a proven method, that it's already there, and they need to buy into it and believe it and let us do what we do.
Yeah, you can see the end result.
So when you're saying, you're talking about 20 players per team?
It's usually about 11.
Okay, so
Not
you only
more than 12, unless they're 14.
So you only have just a couple of pitchers of these guys play multiple positions?
We try to get them to play multiple positions, especially at the younger age. At the older age, they're down to 1 or 2 positions, maybe a third if they pitch.
Okay.
But yeah, the upperclassmen, what we call them, upper and underclassmen, they're pretty much already set of what they're going to be. Whether it's their body type or their speed or just the way they play their game, their approach to the game. So those guys, we pretty much already have a set of what they're going to do. They're not going to see all different. We're not moving those kids around, and we're competing at that age.
Right.
And a lot of these guys are playing not only for a scholarship or a scholarship commitment, but they're also playing against the odds of baseball when baseball says you're done. You're not going to get any more talented, and the competition's there, so they're getting close to that age, and so it's a little bit more serious there for them. At the younger ages, it's hard because a lot of the coaches will get so hyped up within the game that they stop forgetting to move players around. We tell our parents, look, I might leave Johnny Jump up there, and he might lose the game for us. I don't need a parent saying, you should have taken him out. He really should have came out. No, we want him to learn how to work his way out of it because the win is not as important to us. Now, in a tournament, we might just play the best players in the best positions, but in league games and scrimmages, we'll move them all around. And in some tournaments, we still move them around as well.
Yeah.
Well, we just have a couple of minutes left. And, would like to just... first of all, remind people how they can get involved with.
If they go to cbabaseball.org or cbapumas.com, they could get involved right there, or go to vegasvalleybaseball.com. They'll see our advertisement out there.
All right.
Yes.
And one last question, and how do you see the game as changing? How do you feel?
So like I said earlier, the game hasn't changed, but the approach of the game with social networks, YouTube videos, kids at a young age doing strength and conditioning, cross training. I mean, they're getting very strong, very fast, athletic. So really, you need to be more of an athlete in the gym if you want to compete at a high level before going to practice and even playing the game. Sometimes you have parents that want to play every tournament that's out there. Well, look, just play one tournament a month and get some conditioning.
You need some rest as well.
And become an athlete, because that's going to help you out.
The body has to heal at the same time, even in young people. I mean,
and the pitching,
and especially in old people, right?
I would like to see more tournaments developing, like Pitch Smart, counting pitches.
Yeah.
These arms are getting hurt.
Yeah.
Kids are really getting hurt. The teams are over pitching them. And so, anyways, the game is faster. The approach of the game, the kids are getting more knowledgeable because of all the information out there.
Absolutely.
Well, Jay, we can't thank you enough.
Oh,
for coming
thank you.
in. And
Thank you for having
it's
me.
been a long time, but obviously we want to absolutely have you back in here. Much shorter span than even the last time we saw
absolutely,
you.
absolutely.
This is a fantastic program. Even if you're not necessarily into baseball, but it's what this program is. If you're a businessman that would like to assist and help out,
Yeah, for sure.
Really would love for them to go in and look into this and see what we can
Absolutely.
do. Yeah, but thank you so much
No,
for
I
coming.
I appreciate it very much.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Jay Matos of the California Baseball Academy. This show has just absolutely blown by.
Always does.
It always does. And we really appreciate Jay coming in. But join us next Monday, 6 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, for another installment of Southern Nevada Sports News, coming to you from WWDBTV.com. Have a great week.
God bless.